Hi there, it's Connie-Rae from ConnieRae'sCraftRoom.com. Thanks for joining me for today's project. Today's project is this card, which is really lovely, which is a 6.5 by 6 1/4, scored at 3 1/4. So it's a little bit of a different size, and I'm kind of liking it quite a lot, just to have a little bit of a different Chrissy card to send out to people. So I will show you how to get this one, or how to create this one. So you're going to need a piece of Whisper White, thick Whisper White cardstock, which measures 6.5 by 6 1/4 inches, scored at 3 1/4. You will need also a mat that we're putting underneath, and it's going to be 6 1/8 by 3 1/8. That will go under there. And you're going to need a piece of white cardstock, which is going to be our top mat, and that is 6 by 3. So you get this tiny little trim of a mat underneath. So you'll get that effect. So I will show you how this is done. First of all, you're going to want to bring in your paper with your your Stamparatus, I should say. You're going to put your paper down and you're going to secure it really well. Grab your embossing buddy. I don't think I showed you the stamps that I was going to be using, which is naughty of me. If I could just find them. What do I do with them? Ah, yes. Sorry, it's about the 4th take today. Okay, so the first stamp is the Filigree, and it's going to be Flourish, the Flourish Filigree that we're going to be using. Sorry, I'm trying to get the light out of the way as we speak, and it's going to be this image. And then I've used the sentiment from the beautiful Still Night with our gorgeous little owl. He's cute, isn't he? This is not working. There we go. And there's the sentiment that I've actually used. So you need both of those stamp sets to create this particular card. So going back to our embossing, pop your 6 inch by 3 inch white Whisper White cardstock down, thick Whisper White. Use your embossing buddy. That's definitely a must when you're embossing. So use your embossing buddy. It picks up all the oils and all the lint and all sorts of bits and pieces off your cardstock, so you get a smooth embossing image. Okay, I've already placed my image. I better just check to make sure that's correct. Yes, it is. And we're going to get some Versamark because it's sticky and it works best for embossing, especially on a big image like this. Put plenty down. You don't have to go excessive. It is quite sticky, so make sure this piece of paper or cardstock is actually quite secure, so it doesn't come off when you lift it, because it is sticky. Because if you need to pop it down again, just to make sure, you may not really get the placement correct, so make sure you know your spacing there. Give it a bit of a press, a bit of a hug. Should be good, because it is. There we go. That looks fine. So we'll just get this out of the way and get rid of that light. Now with embossing, you need to just have a little bit of paper, fold it in half like this, and your embossing powder. Silver embossing powder I'm using for this particular image. I'm just going, because it is a large image, I'm just going to pour this all over it, because it is a large image. Usually you can use a spoon, or you can do it this way, it doesn't really matter. As long as you cover your image really well, it doesn't matter how you get it there. So I'll just lift it up. There you go. Works well, doesn't it? It's using Versamark. If you're going to do it in another colour, you can always put Versamark on top of the colour. Double stamp it, I suppose. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to put another one down because I like to make sure that I've got my image really well covered, because I do like the effect of embossing. So I'm going to do it twice just to be sure. Turn your embossing gun on while you're doing this and keep it somewhere safe so you don't burn yourself or set something on fire while you're sorting out and packing up this, so it gets really, really, really hot, because that's half the key to good embossing, and it's probably the most important part of embossing. So heat your gun up while you're sorting this bit out, and while it's heating up, you can get yourself prepared to use it. Once you've got it used, I will turn mine on. because I've been using mine, because you want your image to be really clean. The only reason I don't like it turning my gun on while I'm recording is because it does take up make a bit of noise. But that being said, it's good to see the image being embossed if I can do it. So I'm just waiting for my gun to get a little bit hotter. Because it needs to be really hot. I don't want to wreck my paper while I do this, so I'm just going to bring the gun in. But you don't need to put the gun right on top. You just need to bring it in, so it is a bit difficult because I haven't got enough room. And I've got this white embossing gun that I use, this is the old one. There we go. As you can see, it's starting to move, so you just want to move across with it. I just stuck my finger on it. Now if your paper warps like that, just turn it over. Another bit of hot at the back, but don't hold it on too long because it will warp the other way then. And it will keep embossing. So there you go. As you can see, it's lovely, isn't it? Okay, so the next step that we're going to be doing is we're going to get our piece and run it through the big shot, our piece of white cardstock that we just put this image on, and we're going to just line up a little square. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. I kind of like the image exactly how it is, so it's entirely up to you. But I basically got the square from the square stitched shape framelits, and it's the smallest size. They're in the annual catalogue on page 222, or no, 220 I should say. And I've just placed it around the image, around the square section there on the loops. Stuck it down and run it through my big shot. And I've cut out the centre. So you end up with a piece that looks like that, and the centre's actually out. So from here, the next thing I would do is I would stick this down on your grey matte cardstock. Sorry, my paper has warped from the gun and it annoys me. Weird, I know, but it happens. Okay, so we're just going to pop it down because we're going to do a little bit more work on embellishing the card. So for now, I'm going to use some Tombow. Get my glasses. And I'm going to stick it down with some Tombow because it is a very small space that you're working on in terms of the mat and the width of the card. So getting it lined up might be a bit tricky, so don't be afraid just to use some Tombow and get it in alignment that way, because sometimes that is the best way. That looks pretty good to me. Okay, I think that looks pretty straight. Okay, so the next thing that I've done, we've used basic grey for the image to be our sentiment, which is this one. Ooh, glad I checked that because it would have been upside down. And I've just put that in the corner here, just under the little flourish itself, which is Sending Wishes Your Way. Isn't that sweet? It's a beautiful script, that one. Okay, and in the background I have just added, where's my original? I've added a little bit of stars and dots and bits and pieces. So you can put in both, or you don't have to put in both. It's entirely up to you, or you can put in one or the other. I kind of think it gets to be a little bit personal at some point, which is like about now, but just add a few. I think that's more than enough. And I might just put them up the top. And maybe a little bit down here. And I'll turn them around, do a little bit that way. There we go. Just to pretty it up a bit. Oh, should I put some here as well? Maybe I'll put a couple of dots. There we go. So, that all being done, the other thing I'm going to pop on is some little moonstones, some embellishments, and I am going to pop them just about randomly wherever you want to put them, really. Ooh, I don't want you sticking there. There. How do we look? Yep, that looks good, doesn't it? And one over here, I think. There we go. And last but not least, we want to pop up our little square, which I have successfully lost. Oh, there it is. Oh, no, there it is. I've got two. I had one as a backup. We want to pop that up on some dimensionals because we want it to stand up fairly well. I might just put another one in there because we're going to make it turn around and make it look a little bit okay. So we're just going to square it off basically, hopefully evenly. There we go. Just like that. And then we can, after this point, just pop our card on our gorgeous matted. What shape do they call this? I'm not quite sure. There is probably a shape name for it, but I'm not sure. But it's our 6.5 by 6 1/4 shape. So I need some more dimensionals. Pop it up. If you're not comfortable using dimensionals to line it up, just use some Tombow, and I might just put a couple in the middle here. I find the backs of these dimensionals everywhere. I find them in the house, I find them everywhere. They just turn up magically. Okay, so we'll just lay this down onto our card, hopefully straight. Oh, it's really hard to see white on white, isn't it? Oh. There we go. Oh. Okay, so that is the tutorial for today. It is this gorgeous card, and these are going to make some lovely Christmas cards for people, and they're different. That one actually looks better than this one. I mustn't have that on unless it's just the colour. No, I don't know what I've done different there, but anyway, it looks better because you've got that lovely basic grey colour, grey cardstock behind it, so looks lovely. So that's the tutorial for today. Thank you for joining me. I will be back with a new tutorial soon, and I hope you do like to make this card and send it out to people, because I'm pretty sure that somebody's going to like it. Please do like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon with a new tutorial. Thanks again for joining me. Take care.